Kashyapa Prajapathi has 13 wives. His children, through all these 13 wives, filled this entire world. Although they are cousins born to different mothers but the same father, they fight among each other. But if you are telling the story like that, and that's how you find it in all English books, and that's how you see it in all translations, then it is a story not worthy of being told to children. And today, the topic can be titled as Everything is Within Us. Jai Shri Ram. Welcome back, everyone. Hope you saw the introductory episode and hope you understood the purpose of this series. Just to recap, the purpose is to give the hidden inner meaning of various stories in Puranas, Itihasas like Ramayana and Mahabharata, so that we can unravel this hidden spiritual science that is applicable and relevant to us today, right here, right now. And then we also talked about the divine nature of the language Sanskrit. Sanskrit meaning is, it is samyak krutam. It is very well designed, very well constructed. Sanskritam also means it is refined. And Sanskritam has a unique way, a mathematics-like way of constructing words and the way of getting to the deeper hidden meaning that we normally don't look at, that we normally don't pay attention to, is by looking at the etymological meaning of each of those words. And this approach is called Vyutpatti Pakshiyam. This is very commonly used in Vedic times, but later on it became Avyutpatti Pakshiyam. Avyutpatti Pakshiyam means they don't go to the etymological meanings. They just look at the outline of the story. And there was some kind of a movement when the poets were really mesmerized by the poetic beauty of the kavyas like Ramayana and the storytelling ability of Vyasa in Mahabharata and in other Puranas. So they are completely lost in that beauty. And I don't blame them for that, because the poetic beauty that you find in Ramayana is unparalleled anywhere. Even Kalidasa and these people don't even come close. Kalidasa actually learned a lot of skills from Valmiki and Vyasa. If you actually read Sundarakanda in Ramayana, you will find that is it possible for a human poet to write that many shlokas? There are about 2,200 plus slokas in that Sundarakanda itself. And the poetic beauty is unimaginable. And it's far greater than what great poets like Mahakavi Kalidasa, etc. have produced. Some scholars might disagree with me, but I don't want to pick up a fight, but that is my opinion. And Kalidasa himself said many times, it's not because of false humbleness or false humility. He truly said that it is so difficult to construct works like this, but as a metal needle can be used to poke a hole through a gemstone and through which the thread can easily pass through, he said Valmiki and Vyasa have created that path and he can simply pass through it. So with that, I just simply stop that the poetic beauty is so grandiose that it is easy to get lost in it. And the storytelling and the captivating power of the stories is so great that it's easy to get lost in them. And your entire lifetime can be spent in marveling at the beauty and wondering about the stories and reveling in the stories without really getting to what the Rishi was trying to tell. These are multifaceted literary works like Ramayana, Mahabharata and other Puranas. there are many, many layers that you can unravel and find out. At one level, you can see simply the beauty. At another level, you can simply see how Mantra Shastra plays out, how the power of Bijaksharas play out. At a different level, you can actually see a physical storyline that something is actually happening in the world. At a different level, you can see how dharmas are laid out, how various dharma shastra or dharmas have been laid out. At a different level, you can look at how the spiritual laws are laid out. At a different level, you can see yourself and how your psychology works within the same passages, within the same texts. There are many, many layers. That's why I call them multifaceted. But for the purpose of this episode and this series, I will focus mostly at 3 levels. One is the outer level that looks like a story that we can tell our children and we were told as a children. And the second level, sometimes I look at the dharma, how the dharma plays out, what kind of dharmas are laid out. At the deeper level is how it applies to our psychology and our spirituality. So, and I won't go deeper into the real spiritual level, but I will go to a level where we can understand the stories from the perspective of a spiritual practitioner, to develop the necessary shraddha for a spiritual practitioner. But then much deeper level, the deepest level of spirituality will unfold either through a sincere study of texts like Bhagavad Gita or Srimad Bhagavatam, or it can be unraveled by the spiritual practitioner themselves or himself or herself through rigorous practice and study. But for the purpose of this episode, I will only go to the 3 levels. And today, the topic can be titled as Everything is Within Us. We have the mind, and mind has the ability to know and to see. And the mind power, the power of the mind is so vast that it can hold the entire universe. If for example, if you say there is a star 1,000 light years away, or maybe 1,000,000 light years away, you are able to perceive that because that has entered into the field of your awareness. That means your mind is capable of holding that object or that idea in itself. So as such, the human intelligence and the human mind is the one that holds this entire world, entire universe. Whatever is seen, it is within it. So I will go deeper into that later. But before going much further into that, let me explain to you a very simple story. And a lot of you know that story, and see how all the things are within us. So we know that all the creatures that you see, like devas, asuras are rakshasas, and dogs, birds, snakes, all these things are from one Prajapati. Many of them, most of these creatures are one Prajapati named Kashyapa. At the outset, the story goes like this. Kashyapa Prajapati has 13 wives. In Puranas and Mahabharata also the story comes. Has 13 wives. And they are Aditi, Diti, Danu, Vinata, Kadruva, like that, so on goes. 13 wives. Sarama, there are 13 of those. And his children, through all these 13 wives, filled this entire world. And children of Aditi were called Adityas. And children of Diti are called Daityas. Although they are cousins born to different mothers but the same father, they fight among each other. And you see the animosity between them. They're always fighting. Hiranyakashipu is always against Indra, who is an Aditya. Indra, Varuna, they are all Aditi's children. And Hiranyakashipu, Hiranyaksha, and Prahlada, Bali, they are all Diti's descendants. They are always fighting constantly. There was never a friendship between them. And similarly, they are also children of Danu. Danu is another wife of Kashyapa. And Danu's children were called Danavas. And Danavas are also in constant fight with Adityas, the Aditis. So collectively, there are different beings called Devas and a different being called Rakshasas. Devas look like they have some kind of a natural friendship with Adityas. So they have some kind of a connection there. And the Rakshasas, they are somehow related and they somehow have an affinity with Daityas and Danavas. So they are always together, teamed up with them. So when you look at Adityas and Devas, they are called Suras. And when you look at Daityas, Danavas, and Rakshasas, they are called Asuras. So for this particular episode, let's just stop here. We don't want to go into other wives and other children. So let's understand, what is this telling about? Does it tell about an old man who indiscreetly married 13 wives and never pays any attention to his children, abandons them and goes and does tapasya while these kids are fighting all the time? And although Aditi, Diti, Danu, they're all siblings, they were all children of Daksha Prajapati. There's another Prajapati named Daksha Prajapati. They're all his children, his daughters. So they are all just sisters. But they have such an animosity. And their children are fighting all the time, running towards each other's throats and killing each other. And what kind of history is it? Is it telling anything good to us? And is that something that you want to tell your children? That's not how it is. But if you are telling the story like that, and that's how you find it in all English books, and that's how you see it in all translations, then it is a story not worthy of being told to children. But this is a very, very important story in all Puranas. If we don't understand this, we don't understand anything else. We don't understand a lot of things, first of all. So that's why it is important to understand what these are from the method that I identified before through etymological meaning. So let's start looking with Kashyapa. Kashyapa is same as Pasyaka. So in Niruktam says that Pasyako Kashyapa bhavati. So Pasyaka is same as Pasyaka. It's just reversed. Sometimes they reverse it like that. So Pasyaka means seer. Somebody who is actually seeing into the world, seeing something that physically exists as something perceivable to our senses as a world. And also Kashyapa means, Kashya means what we said, the Prakasha word before in the last episode. Prakasha means to shed light. So Kashya means something that is shedding light. By shedding light, you find out, you know about, you identify a thing that is there. So Kashyapa is somebody in that way, as Pasyaka as well as Kasha, from the word Kasha. That means it's a seer, somebody who is seeing. So when you are looking at the world, there are multiple ways to look at it. One way to look at it is that the world is filled with different objects. The cell phone is different from the table is different from the book is different from the bird is different from the dog, like that. So that means your awareness is divided, is broken. When you are looking at dog, the awareness is now broken down to the form of a dog. And then next to it, you see a tree, then the awareness is broken down to a tree. And if you believe that the dog is some different separate entity, a real vastu, real thing that exists, and if you also look at a tree as a separate real entity, then that means your awareness has dividedness. And in Sanskrit, da means to cut down. Da khandane is the root word. From that is derived diti. Da khandane is derived now into a new word constructed called Diti. Diti means divided or broken down or dualistic. Dvayam, dvaye means two in Sanskrit. So in the same way, Diti means it is dvandvas, it's dividedness. So that is one way to look at the world, that everything is divided. There are many, many, many things. Out of that comes multiplicity. But there is also another way to see the common principle in everything. Everything is enabled by awareness. If there is no awareness, then you can't see anything. So that means without awareness, the tree cannot exist. Without awareness, a dog cannot exist. Without awareness, a book cannot exist. Any of these things do not exist without awareness. So therefore, the common thread in everything is that they are being enabled by awareness. And that is the opposite of divided knowing. That is aditi. A means na. So in Sanskrit, when you add a, sometimes it is the opposite. Diti, opposite of diti is aditi. So aditi is undivided. Diti is divided. So the pasyaka, the observer, if the observer is looking at the world with a divided attention, then it is diti, and all the activities born out of that attention are daityas. And if the pasyaka, the observer, is looking at with undivided attention, and all the divine powers or divine qualities or sublime qualities that are born out of that are called adityas. That's why adityas are like devas. They are connected with devas because we talked about deva before. What is deva? Deva is the prakashakara shakti, the ability to know things that are usually not known, to shed light on things that are usually unseen. So, and that kind of sublime tendencies are with these adityas. Therefore, there is a natural friendship between adityas and divine abilities or devas. And now let's look at daityas. Daityas are all dualistic. So because of daityas, then you would see the world to be separate from you, and different objects in the world to be separate from each other, and so on. And as a result, there is this notion that I am the observer of that. I am enjoyer of this fruit. I am eater of this food. Like that, all the things are divided. And now let's look at Danu. The third wife that we talked about of Pasyaka is Danu. Danu is not different from Tanu. Tata, da, dha, na, right? So the ta and da are just minor variations. They are within the same row in the alphabets that you see. So Tanu is Danu. So anything that is related to Tanu, the body, or bodily tendencies or bodily preoccupations, are Danavas. That means the observer is now paying attention to the bodily tendencies. So I'm looking at my body and saying that I am handsome, I am fair, I am tired, I am hungry, and I'm sick. Like that, there are 40 different tendencies identified by rishis, and that are all called Danus, or Danu related, or Danavas. So Danavas are bodily preoccupations. And similarly, if you pay attention to different other things, for example, Vinata and Kadruva. Vinata, Nata means to bow down. Vinata means somebody who has Vinayam and very careful and steady and thoughtful. Kadruva, Ka means joy, Dhru means to run. Whenever there is pleasure and joy, if you have a tendency to run towards it, it is called Kadruva. Therefore, the children of Kadruva are never stopping snakes. They're always slithering away very rapidly towards something. They're shooting down towards something. So that means the tendency to run towards pleasures very quickly gives rise to snake-like tendencies. Snake doesn't stop. It is always slithering and moving. So that's why they're called nagas. Naga means na plus a plus ga is naga. Ga means to move. Aga means not to move. Na aga means something that cannot be still, that has always needs to move. So something that cannot be still is naga. So anyway, I don't want to go deep into that. But when you look at the whole perspective, it is talking about the observer and how the observer's outlook defines the kind of activities the person will be doing. If we are focused into dualistic approach, that means our outlook is Daitya outlook, then it is all about what I have, what I don't have, what I need to get to enjoy, how can I go there, and who is my enemy, who is my friend, all that. But if we are in Danu related outlook, then it's all about my legs are hurting, my head is hurting, I am hungry, I am tired, I am beautiful. It's all about my body and those tendencies. But if our outlook is to look at the commonness in everything, then you get all the sublime divine qualities like Daya, Shanti, Ahimsa, and those kind of qualities. Dhruti, Shama, all these great qualities, they come. So they are Devas. So you can now see that why there is commonness between Adityas and Devas. But now let us see what Rakshasas are and why Rakshasas are natural friends to Danavas and Daityas. As I said, Daityas are dualistic tendencies, Danavas are bodily tendencies. And Rakshasa, they have a very interesting story how Rakshasas came into. Rakshasas are a different kind or a different genre of beings. Sometimes when you find English dictionary, you will see Daitya is equal to Danava is equal to Asura is equal to Rakshasa. It's not right. They are not all same. Diti's children are Daityas, Danu's children are Danavas, and I'm going to talk about Rakshasas now. So it is said in one of the Purana stories that the Lord Brahma, who is the creator of this entire universe, first created darkness. Before anything was created, he created darkness. That darkness is nothing other than ignorance. Ignorance, also called avidya. So in that ignorance came two kinds of beings. And these beings were very hungry. And they looked around and they saw Lord Brahma and ran towards him. And they wanted to eat him. Eat Lord Brahma. And the Lord said, hey, I'm like your dad. I'm like your father. So don't eat me. Save me. You have to save me. So in Sanskrit, they said, those beings that wanted to eat, they said, Jaksha, Jaksha. That means eat. The other said, Maraksha, Maraksha. Don't protect. Then the Lord said, Majaksha, Rakshata. He said, don't eat, protect me. But they did the opposite. They did not want to do it. So the ones that wanted to eat said Jaksha, and those beings became Yakshas. And those beings that said, we will not protect, they became Rakshasas. So Raksha means protection, and the next word Sa means something ends, something that ends. It's called Se Antakarmani. That is a suffix. So Se Antakarmani is added as a suffix to the word Raksha. So when you say Raksha and add Sa to it, it means end of Raksha, end of protection. So basically, out of this ignorance, out of our avidya, that means lack of understanding and knowledge, we do all kinds of activities. Sometimes we go to movies, sometimes we go to bars, sometimes we just waste time gossiping, sometimes we study books, sometimes we do many things, countless things. But one thing common about all these things are they all consume resources. They all consume our mental energy. They all consume our bodily energy. They all consume our time. They all consume our effort. They are consumers for sure. But some of them are consumers and might do good. They are simply consumers, or they might even do some good to us, help us. But there are some of those that just consume and don't offer any kind of protection to us. So therefore, the activities that consume our resources and might do some good are yakshas. And the activities and the things that we do that consume resources but do not offer any kind of protection are rakshasas. So basically, rakshasas are within us. And naturally, the danavas, total bodily preoccupations, totally really does not, they don't save us. They are needed to do certain things. That means you cannot kill all the danavas away, and you cannot kill all daityas away, or eliminate them, obliterate them totally. They're not totally useless. But they, most of the times, they don't protect us. So therefore, they have some kind of a shared friendship with Rakshasas. And together, they are called Asuras. I said Sura for the Devas and Adityas. And these three groups are called Asuras. Now let us see what Sura is. Su means something that is good. What kind of good? It's not a good that, if I get 10 rupees in my pocket. Not that kind of simple good. It's eternal, ultimate good. So Sura means Sumrati iti Sura. So what brings ultimate good is Sura. And the opposite of that is Asura. So it does not bring ultimate good to us. It might do some little good here and there, a temporary benefit, but it is not the ultimate good. That is Asura. And Asu also means the prana, the life within the body. Body survival is called Asu. In Telugu, we have the word Asubulu. Asubulu means pranamulu, the life. So the Asu is just survival of the body. Asura means one that brings the survival tendencies out. Survival tendencies like fight or flight response. Survival tendencies like eat and procreate response. So those kind of responses are brought out by this Asura tendency. Asu also means the sense pleasures. So Asuras means one who is overwhelmingly preoccupied with sense pleasures are also called Asuras. So basically, all these tendencies are within us. All the Devas within us. All the Asuras within us. And the real observer looking at all these things is me. When I pay attention, then I look at this. I am the Kashyapa. And I have different outlooks or different mindsets. And each mindset is said to be Kashyapa's wife. That brings us to an important question about what is a husband, what is a wife. So this is one thing important. A second thing that is important in the framework. And I'm going to talk about that in the next episode. Thank you. Jai Shri Ram.